Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Last Terran. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 18. Blind opened their eyes slowly. Dried Rixper leaves greeted them. That was good. It was all a dream, a nightmare, but a dream all the same. Blind rose, stretched their wings, looking around the room, the dream weariness still hiding in their joints. The room was the same as it always was. Blind decided to head up to the command station just to reassure themselves before eating breakfast. The command station was in its normal state, except there was a ship docked, and the time readout had to be wrong. Blind's hearts began to race. Had it actually happened? Had they seen what they'd actually thought they'd seen? A giant mammalian predator with teeth perfect for tearing apart a being like herself, the stuff of nightmares of naughty children of every house. The communication station pinged, and Blind glanced over. "Good to see you awakened," the text read, and the runes for genuine concern and social happiness flashed with it. What happened?" Blind wanted to reconstruct all of what had occurred. "You collapsed upon seeing Captain Rix. He, translation note, dioecious, gonochoristic physiognomy, took you to your resting quarters after a basic scan revealed yourself to be under stress-induced blackout." "What is Captain Rix?" Blind asked. "Species designation Terran." "You said that, but what is he?" Blind pressed. "I believe this will go faster if you tell me what you are wanting to know," came the mechanical voice. "Firstly, where is he?" Blind's eyes darted to the door to the command deck. "He is aboard the Esperanto. He does not mean to harm you," Manto said. "But he fixes loaders by hitting them extremely hard," Blind recalled. "Percussive maintenance is a known skill of Terrans," Manto said, flashing a rune for making a statement that appears to be a joke, but is established. And those eyes." Blind wanted to puff their feathers and go after this Captain Rix's talons first. This was an unusual feeling for Blind, as Quinn are normally peaceful, but there was something about this, Terran that made Blind instinctively want to fight. "That is a standard appearance of a Terran," Manto said. "He can wear an appropriate head covering if it would cause you less stress." Blind thought about it for a moment and flexed their feathers. "No, it wouldn't do much good. I still know what the face looks like underneath at this point," Blind said. "Understandable. Please state your next inquiry." "How did you know I had one?" Blind asked. "You're an organic in a predictably off-putting situation without resorting to baser instincts. It is a reasonable assumption," Manto said. "I thought Tassets were self-piloted. Is that not true?" Blind decided on trying to stay away from the Terran in the metaphorical room. "Due to an unfortunate series of events, my core was relocated to the Esperanto from myself. I am currently operating suboptimally as a result," Manto replied. "Does this have anything to do with whatever tech you used to get here from your origin point? It must be some kind of super-secret tech, if it can go that far in one sprint." Blind wasn't hopeful for any information, but tried anyway. "The technology is outside of my understanding, but it is considered a legacy technology due to its age," Manto replied. "How come I've never heard of a drive being capable of doing something like that then?" Blind asked. "Because the society to which the technology belonged no longer exists, and the species to which the technology was invented was declared erroneously extinct approximately 300 years ago. So it's kind of archaeo-tech? I think that's the right term." Blind tried to think back to the last round of books that they had read about searching for advanced technologies in scientifically improbable settings. "That is a reasonable approximate term, particularly given the age of the Esperanto," Manto said. "How old is it?" Blind asked, in a patently obvious follow-up. 957 years, 2 months, 3 days since the first initiation of the fusion core for service," Manto said, spelling it out in text as well. "I didn't think Tassets got that old." Blind's voice trailed off, staring at the number. "We don't. I only recently discovered the TSS Esperanto approximately 4 weeks ago according to shipboard chronometer, 12.5 weeks ago according to stellar chronometer counts," Manto said, listing up both time approximations. "How is this possible? It doesn't even make sense." Blind thought back to the FTL course that they had taken in order to become a station master. "Temporal compression is an artifact of the archaeotech." Manto displayed a normal temporal compression diagram for sublight speeds and the associated equations. "So, what's your ship and this Terran been doing for 900-something years? Is the Captain Rix that old?" "Captain Rix was a part of a colony fleet heading to the system approximately 955 years ago. Due to an issue experienced underway, the Esperanto did not reach the system. Captain Rix has been in stasis since the accident." That's not possible. Hibernation chambers are only rated for up to 150 years. Correct. Captain Rix was in a stasis chamber, not a hibernation chamber. That's more archaeotech. Technically, no. It is a known technology that relies on less reliable components, and it is only due to the durability and reinforced nature of the Esperanto that Captain Rix was able to survive. So, what does he want? To meet you. Due to the differences in galactic society between when he entered stasis and currently, he has never met a xenospecies. Bryan shook their feathers twice and then laughed, their beak hanging open slightly to coo slightly in amusement. An unknown nightmare of xenospecies from across time and space wants to meet me, Bryan managed after an almost full minute of laughing. That is correct. For what it's worth, you're taking it a bit better than I did. Munter flashed a rune for truthful statement. Okay, but I'm trusting you, Tacit Munter. The large figure Bryan knew now to be a Terran was lounging on a pad next to the medical fuel generator. He, looked smaller than he had when he first was in the pressure suit. But he was still comparatively massive. Perhaps Terrans appeared bigger, but didn't actually weigh as much as Bryan guessed they might be in their configuration. Maybe the clothing was cut to make the Terran appear bigger. That would make sense. Bryan relaxed as they approached the Terran to see the Terran was manipulating a device of some kind. It was a simple interface, but it appeared to be providing some kind of feedback to the Terran. The Terran looked over at Bryan and fixed them with the same intense look. Knowing it was coming, Bryan fought the urge to screech and flee again. It still took all of their hold to not spread wide and appear as big as possible. The Terran Rix pointed at a device on the floor near the device, and Bryan looked away from the Terran momentarily to see that it was a heads-up display. It appeared to have been modified slightly, the computation pack having an additional module connected to it. Bryan looked to Rix and noted the Terran was holding the device that had previously been manipulating in both hands. Rix was still seated on the pad. Rix looked down at the device and appeared to touch something. A blank screen on the Terran's garment flashed with a rune for polite greeting, followed by calm patience. It wasn't perfect, but Bryan understood. The Terran really was from far back. Then, of course, they couldn't manage anything without some kind of translation help. Naturally, that was one of Bryan's major nitpicks about so many interspecies novellas. They were all able to perfectly communicate all the time. Even with the help of the Tacits, interspecies communication was still almost staggeringly difficult. At least between species who were enough different. Between similar species, it was a bit easier, but even then, it was still difficult because of cultural context. Bryan felt a flash of sympathy for the xenophile who had to figure out how to manage without any kind of real translation help, like a Tacit. Watching the Terran, Bryan donned her heads-up display and switched it on while sitting down near the Terran. I will try and assist in translation between you two, the text read out. Greetings, Terran Captain Rix, Bryan decided on the most formal opening. Fair winds, Squin Station, Master Bryan, Rix tried, tapping the rune for formal greeting. The voice modulation in the heads-up display, accompanied by a matching text readout, helped Bryan. What brings you to my station from across time and space? Bryan asked, half-jokingly. I'm looking for the colony of Terrans who are supposed to be here. Have you seen them, or any signs of them? Rix tapped the rune for mission statement. Bryan was confused. This Terran was looking for the other Terrans. Did this Rix not know where their species' territory was? Are the members of your species supposed to be in this system? Bryan asked. Rix consulted the device he held and looked back at Bryan. Yes, approximately 900 years ago, I was a part of a colony convoy aiming for the system. I am looking for them, Rix replied. Well, there are no Terrans here. I have never even heard of a Terran. So they wouldn't be in one of the other local systems either, Bryan answered. Rix made a kind of chuffing sound that made Bryan's pins feel fuzzy again. Rix noticed this and tapped the rune for fatalistic humor experienced flashed. You're not the first being to mention that to me. Is that the only reason you are here? Bryan asked. It's a start. There's a lot I don't know, but I figured I'd try to locate some Terrans, or at least figure out what happened. Nobody seems to know why they're listed as extinct, Rix said, gesturing vaguely. Correct statement. TacitNet provided no particular reference regarding reasons for Terran extinction. Scrolled the text across Bryan's heads-up display. So you're looking for your species, except it's supposed to be extinct, but nothing says why, Bryan asked. Rix looked at the device and appeared to smile. It sounds like a strange kind of mystery, doesn't it? Rix continued smiling. More like impossible, Bryan said flatly. Rix looked at the tablet again before continuing. Nevertheless, it's all I have. Well, that and the Esperanto. But that won't do me much good unless I can figure out what else to do, Rix said, tapping a rune for resignation of attitude. I do not believe that I can assist you, but I will try. What manner of assistance do you require? Bryan prompted, falling back into the profession roots. I could use what's it called again? Galactic net connection? Rix started speaking to Bryan, but appeared to trail off in talking to the listening Tacit. Bryan had momentarily forgotten that Tacit was facilitating this conversation. You mean a GullNet link? You don't have one of those? Bryan looked at the Terran rather incredulously. Rix looked back at the device, then looked back at Bryan. That's right. Host dates me by a few hundred years, don't you know? Rix flashed, hilarious rhetorical. Standard Quinn auto-fabricators should possess access to cargo vessel-grade GullNet linkages, scrolled the text to Bryan from Munto. Yes, but it would probably be easier just to get one from further in system, Bryan muttered. Due to the aforementioned quarantine needs and lacking adequate medical data on impacts on both Terran and other species as a result of interactions, particularly biomechanical and microorganisms, it would be most advisable to limit Rix's exposure to other species at this time. The long worded text swelled out, filling the whole HUD, nearly making Bryan's eyes cross. Okay, fair. We'll see what we can do. I don't hardly use my autofab except for mandatory equipment, Bryan said, rising to their feet, stretching their wings. Pending inquiry from Rix. Are you Kun Tib, Terran equivalent of male, or a Kun Bir, a Terran equivalent of female? So, are you male or female of your species? Rix asked, also rising and immediately towering over Bryan. Bryan was uncertain as to how to process this. The split-second text from Munto had given them enough time to begin the process to query mentally before the Terran asked it. It wasn't an unreasonable question, also Bryan's stories included, but it was strange to have opposed to you yourself compared to book characters. I am a Quinn Buyer, Terran equivalent of female, but I am houseless, Bryan said, rather more affirmatively than she'd felt for most of the conversation. Rix flashed a rune for confusion. Houseless? Do you Terrans not live in houses? It was now Bryan's turn to be confused. We do. Well, some of us, Rix said. Munto appeared to flash the same rune to both Rix and Bryan. Cultural misunderstanding. Both Rix and Bryan started their own versions of laughter. Apparently, translating between the two organics was a bit harder than Munto had realized. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrekahl, Dragzoon W.R.E, Holly's sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.